Every person wants to change their life, but only a few ever learn to change their mind. You cannot rise above the structure of your thinking. If your brain sees discipline as pain, you will run from it. If it sees it as power, you will crave it. The first step is not to fight your emotions, it's to reprogram them. The brain learns through association. If you associate effort with exhaustion, you will quit. If you associate effort with mastery, your body will move before doubt can speak. Every time you repeat an action with intention, you are carving a new mental path. Do it long enough, and the old path, the one filled with excuses and comfort, becomes overgrown and forgotten. Discipline is not built in grand gestures. It is born in quiet, repetitive acts of control. You brush your teeth every day without motivation because your brain has accepted it as identity. Imagine applying that same automatic obedience to your goals. That is how champions are made, not through emotion, but through conditioning. Pain will appear, and it must. The difference between the average and the extraordinary is not who feels pain, but who has trained themselves to translate it into progress. Every rep, every late night, every decision to stay on course, these moments tell your brain, this is who I am now. Each act of discipline is not a task, it is a declaration. You are proving to your subconscious that you are a person who does not negotiate with weakness. Stop chasing motivation. Motivation is unstable. Discipline is permanent. The mind must be taught to move without permission, to act without emotion, to execute without delay. When you stop waiting to feel ready, you take control of your destiny. The reward is not the result. It's the person you become in the process. And remember this, success doesn't respond to feelings. It responds to repetition, to resilience, to relentless focus. The world doesn't care if you're tired, bored, or uninspired. It only responds to consistency. When you rewire your brain to love that consistency, to find pride in the process, you become unstoppable. So stand tall, train your mind to obey your purpose, and let discipline become your pleasure. Because the one who enjoys discipline will never have to chase success. Success will chase them. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect in motion. It's the moment you decide that your future deserves more loyalty than your laziness. It's when you stop treating your goals like dreams and start treating them like obligations. Discipline is the highest form of self-love because it means you are willing to do what must be done even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one is watching, even when the applause is silent. Every act of discipline says, I am worth the effort. It's not about denying yourself pleasure. It's about proving that you are in control of yourself. The weak man chases comfort. The strong man commands it. The truth is, your mind is a battlefield. Every day, comfort whispers and purpose shouts. Comfort says, you deserve rest. Purpose says, you haven't earned it yet. Comfort says, tomorrow will be easier. Purpose replies, tomorrow belongs to those who act today. You cannot serve both. The one you feed becomes your master. Discipline is not a cage. It is the key that unlocks the version of yourself that's been trapped behind excuses. When you train your brain to move when it wants to stop, to focus when it wants to drift, to act when it wants to wait, you are not suffering. You are transforming. The secret to rewiring your brain lies in repetition. The human mind learns through habit. Whatever you repeat becomes natural. Whatever you stop doing becomes foreign. The undisciplined person thinks effort should always feel good. The disciplined person knows that effort becomes good after it feels hard. You must teach your brain to link effort with pride, not pain. Every time you finish what you start, your brain releases a chemical of victory. It begins to crave that feeling. It begins to associate discipline with satisfaction. That's how you rewire yourself, by turning what was once a burden into your natural rhythm. Understand this, success does not require constant excitement. It requires constant action. Most people wait for motivation, but motivation is unreliable. It fades when life gets heavy. Discipline stays. It shows up when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're uncertain. It becomes your identity. You stop asking, do I feel like it? And start declaring, this is what I do. That's the shift. You no longer negotiate with your mind, you command it. The disciplined person doesn't run on feelings, they run on decisions. You will never rise higher than your standards. If your standards are weak, your results will follow. Discipline raises your standards without asking permission. It tells the world that you will no longer settle for average, that you will no longer tolerate delay or distraction. Every time you choose discipline, you reinforce the belief that you are in charge. Each morning you rise early when others sleep. Each time you work while others rest, you are telling your mind, this is who I am now. The repetition forges identity, and identity forges destiny. Pain will be part of the process. Don't fear it, reframe it. Pain is not your enemy, it's your instructor. It's the fire that burns away weakness. Most people run from discomfort, but the disciplined run toward it because they know comfort never made anyone powerful. Pain says, this is where you grow. Each time you embrace it, you send a message to your subconscious that you are not fragile, that you are built for more. And slowly your mind begins to shift. It no longer avoids the grind, it seeks it. It no longer fears struggle, it feeds on it. Progress becomes your new pleasure. You start to love the feeling of finishing what you began. You start to crave that sense of alignment, where your actions finally match your ambitions. The small daily victories build unshakable confidence. You realize that discipline is freedom, freedom from regret, from guilt, from wasted potential. The man without discipline is a slave to his moods, but the man with discipline is free because he does not depend on how he feels to act. He acts because he must, because he's chosen the path of mastery over mediocrity. Look around. Every great empire, every victorious athlete, every visionary leader was forged through discipline. They understood that success is not built in moments of passion, but in hours of repetition. They did not rise because they were special. They rose because they were consistent. You don't need to be extraordinary to begin. You need to be disciplined to become extraordinary. It's not talent that separates the great from the forgotten. It's persistence, the ability to do what others won't every single day without applause, without comfort, without shortcuts. The ultimate goal is to rewire your brain so deeply that discipline becomes your pleasure, not your prison. When you wake up and your first instinct is to move, to work, to build, you reach mastery. You no longer drag yourself through tasks. You rise with purpose. You no longer ask for motivation. You generate it. That's when the world bends in your direction, because the universe respects consistency. So start today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Train your mind to obey, not to negotiate. Every time you act with discipline, you reinforce the neural pathways of strength, confidence, and control. Every time you quit, you strengthen weakness. The choice is always yours. You are either wiring your brain for greatness or for regret. Discipline is not punishment. It's proof that you respect yourself enough to build the life you deserve. Respect is not spoken, it is practiced. When your actions align with your intentions, when your word means something to yourself, you become dangerous in the best way possible. You stop chasing the life you want and start creating it, one act of discipline at a time, and when that becomes who you are, no force on this earth can stop you. The mind is programmable. Repetition builds identity. Whatever you feed it becomes its truth, and whatever you repeat becomes who you are. Your brain doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to patterns. Every thought you allow, every habit you repeat, every emotion you dwell on carves a pathway in your mind until it becomes automatic. You are not controlled by fate, luck, or genetics as much as you are controlled by repetition. The person who trains their thoughts trains their destiny, because what the mind rehearses, the body obeys. You are a collection of what you repeatedly do. If you repeat hesitation, you become hesitant. If you repeat excuses, you become unreliable. But if you repeat action, consistency, and focus, you become unstoppable. The secret is not in doing it once with intensity. It's in doing it every day with intention. The mind learns through exposure. The more it experiences a pattern, the more it accepts it as truth. This is why discipline feels hard at first. You're fighting years of programming that taught your brain to seek comfort, not growth. But the moment you commit to repetition, the wiring begins to change. The same brain that once resisted effort will start to crave it, because the mind adapts to whatever you demand from it. You can't think your way into a new identity. You must train it into existence. Every time you act in alignment with who you want to be, your brain rewires itself to believe you already are that person. Each small disciplined action sends a signal, this is me now. Wake up early once, and it feels forced. Do it for 30 days, and it becomes natural. Push through one workout, and it hurts. Do it every morning, and your body starts craving the movement. That's the magic of repetition. It turns discipline into desire. Most people sabotage themselves by expecting motivation to last. Motivation is emotion. Repetition is structure. One fades, the other endures. When you depend on how you feel, you hand control of your life to chance. But when you depend on habit, you take command of your direction. Your mind doesn't care if you're tired or uninspired. It simply obeys the programs you've built. If your program says, I act no matter how I feel, then you will act even in chaos. That's how success is built. Not through bursts of inspiration, but through relentless conditioning. You must become intentional about what you allow your brain to repeat. Every complaint, every doubt, every negative word is a command to your subconscious. Say something often enough, and your brain turns it into belief. Tell yourself you're lazy, and laziness becomes identity. Tell yourself you're focused, disciplined, and powerful, and your mind begins aligning your behavior to prove it true. You don't rise to the level of your motivation, you fall to the level of your conditioning. If you want a new life, you must build new mental patterns. One thought, one decision, one repetition at a time. The beauty of the human brain is that it never stops learning. Neuroplasticity means your mind is always rewiring, even in the moments you don't realize it. That's power, because it means no identity is permanent. You can be undisciplined today and unstoppable a year from now if you choose consistency over excuses. The brain doesn't care who you were. It only responds to what you repeatedly do now. Every repetition is a vote for the person you want to become. This is why the disciplined rise, not because they're born different, but because they train differently. They repeat excellence until excellence becomes instinct. They refuse to negotiate with weakness. They don't rely on excitement, they rely on structure. They know that the mind, like a muscle, grows stronger only under resistance. They understand that repetition is the root of mastery. When others chase novelty, they chase consistency. And that consistency builds power that no motivation can match. Repetition builds belief, and belief builds behavior. The more you repeat success, the less effort it takes to create it. At first, discipline feels like war. Later, it feels like rhythm. You'll wake up and work not because you must, but because it's who you are. The same way your brain once found comfort in delay, it will begin to find comfort in progress. You will start to feel uneasy when you skip the work, when you ignore your goals, when you settle, because your identity will no longer tolerate weakness. That's when you know you've rewired your mind, when success feels natural and quitting feels wrong. Understand this, the brain doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's repeated. If you visualize success every day, if you speak it, act it, live it, your mind will accept it as truth and move you toward it. Repetition is the language of the subconscious. It doesn't respond to intention. It responds to consistency. You can't say, I'll try. You must say, this is who I am. Then prove it through relentless repetition until your actions and your identity are one and the same. Your future self is hidden in the habits you practice today. Every repetition is a brick. Each decision to stay consistent is a line of code written into your mental system. Keep writing it until your default settings become strength, focus, and persistence. Stop programming your mind with doubt and start feeding it proof. Every day you show up, you're not just building skill, you're building identity. So remember this, the mind is programmable. Repetition builds identity. You are always training your brain, whether you realize it or not. The question is, what are you training it to become? Weakness or power? Excuses or execution? Comfort or greatness? Every repetition answers that question. Feed your mind the patterns of strength, act with consistency, and soon discipline will not be something you force. It will be something you are. And once you reach that level, nothing in this world can hold you back. Pain is temporary, but the pride of control is eternal. Every second of discomfort fades. Every moment of struggle passes, but the power you gain from mastering yourself lasts forever. Pain is the price the weak fear and the strong embrace, because they know that beyond that pain lies transformation. You can run from pain and stay ordinary, or you can face it and become something unshakable. Pain is the test life uses to measure your commitment. It asks, how bad do you really want it? The answer isn't spoken. It's proven in silence, in sweat, in persistence, when every fiber of your being screams to quit. Those who endure that storm don't just survive, they evolve. Control is born in chaos. Anyone can stay composed when it's easy, but real strength is built when everything inside you wants to break. Pain introduces you to your limits, and control teaches you how to surpass them. Every time you resist the urge to quit, every time you act with discipline instead of emotion, you are rewriting your identity. You are proving to yourself that you are stronger than your feelings, tougher than your doubts, and more powerful than your excuses. That's the pride of control, the silent confidence that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you remain in command. The truth is, pain is not the enemy, it's the messenger. It shows up to reveal your weakness so you can destroy it. It strips away comfort so you can rebuild yourself in strength. Pain says, here is where you stop pretending. It exposes who you are without masks, without lies, without shortcuts. Most people run from that moment, searching for distraction, comfort, or escape. But the few who stay, who breathe through the struggle and refuse to bow to it, gain something eternal, the pride of control. That pride cannot be bought, inherited, or taught. It can only be earned through confrontation with difficulty. Every champion, every leader, every person who has risen beyond mediocrity has met pain and chosen to stay in the fire. They understood that every repetition of discomfort carves resilience into the soul. You can't control the waves of life, but you can control the way you stand against them. Pain teaches that control. When you stop seeing it as suffering and start seeing it as sharpening, you become unstoppable. Your mind learns to find meaning inside struggle, and when meaning replaces misery, pain loses its power. The moment you accept that pain is part of growth, it becomes fuel. It turns from something that breaks you into something that builds you. You begin to crave that feeling of challenge because you know that on the other side of it, you'll meet a stronger version of yourself. Pain becomes a compass. It points toward the areas that need your attention, the weaknesses you must strengthen, the fears you must destroy. Every ache, every failure, every setback is shaping you into someone who cannot be shaken. Control is the crown you earn when you refuse to be ruled by emotion. The world is filled with people who surrender the moment life pushes back. They get angry, they panic, they give in. But those who have mastered control don't react. They respond. They move with precision, not impulse. They are not carried by moods or circumstances because they've trained themselves to lead